come once again to discuss things.
Here come old flatter, he come grooving up slowly. He got juju eyeball, he one holy roller. He got hair down to his knee. Got to be a joker, he just do what he please.
Dude, I went out to my work and we got, one of those towers, like broadcasting towers, with all the lights that you see in warden airplanes. I can see the dot at the top of the tower if I, work it up.
He wear no shoe shine, he got toe jam football, he got monkey finger, he shoot Coca-Cola. Say, I know you know me. One thing I can tell you is you got to be free. Come together right now over me.
On that note, hi everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Super 2. Joining me today is Steve Baxi and Milan Jeftik 1992.
What's up, motherfuckers? I'm 22 years old and I'm back from the dead. Hell is full of assholes, it turns out.
It can be.
No,
I'd assume that would be a quality that would get you there, so...
I suppose so. Like, the thing is, most of them are just people who are just normal folk, because nobody can live up to the standards of Christianity. But it's just like...
Oh, so Christianity's right. It's not like, fucking... Hinduism or something.
Oh, no. Hinduism, the thing is, every religion is correct in its way. Essentially, the whole multiverse theory only applies to the afterlife. So it's just pick and choose. I decided to go to hell because I wanted to meet Satan. He seems like a clever fellow. And essentially...
Did you get a golden medal out of this experience?
Oh, totally.
So that basically means that if I die, I could become Batman.
If you want to, yeah, that's actually an option.
I have to kill your parents first.
Damn it!
You have to sign up this agreement to have like a demon to kill your parents when you get reborn. But the thing is, the demons, they fuck around, and so when you do get reborn, you're born really poor, and you get your parents killed anyway. So you basically have to be hobo Batman with mental issues.
So basically, Darren Aronofsky's Batman.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's actually called the Aronofsky Agreement.
Anyway. So what are we talking about this week? Oh wait, it's my topic. Gentlemen, this week we're discussing the 2007 film Across the Universe, which is a film adaptation of a Broadway musical that has something really interesting about it. It uses just about every Beatles song as the score, which is really interesting. And while that attracts me to it in a number of ways, even though I'm not a big Beatles fan, I find that it also causes a lot of problems with the film. And we'll get into that.
Yeah, agreed.
So who wants to start? We'll go general thoughts first. I just gave mine, so Steve or Milan, who wants to start?
I'll go next.
I wanna. Okay.
Okay,
Steve,
Milan,
go
ahead.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
What? Okay. So essentially, I think what this is it's a 2-hour excuse to make the best Beatles music video ever, and that's about it. Because every time I got engaged with this film, it's because I really liked the song, and that's it. It's really kind of a generic musical romance, and it's fine in its way. But like you said, the only thing that makes it interesting is that there's Beatles songs attached to it, and I feel like if I just went out and bought the soundtrack, I'd be just as happy as I watched the movie.
I could see that argument. How about you, Milan?
I think it's a lovely film because it's set in the 60s and it has rich white people in it. And also a black person at some point. And there's a little Asian lesbian and a hot, like, quote-unquote foxy older lady, but she's not really that old. The thing is, with this film, I dug it. It was sweet. It's a musical, sure. It's an extended Beatles soundtrack music video. And I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's fun. There's a hot, blonde, drunk American boy in it, and a British boy. And, like, it's just pretty people singing Beatles songs in a 60s setting. And that's all I need.
Yeah, I think that is a pretty good way to look at it. Is what intrigues me about this film, why this film has been on my mind lately. I've been taking a history of rock and roll class. You know, Beatles come up all the time. You can't help but think about Beatles stuff, and this was actually the first thing that entered my head, because we're talking about Beatles in the historical context and everything. And, you know, I think that's one thing this film gets really well. The scene of the Detroit riots, that riot that lasted 5 days in '67, to the song of Let It Be. That was a really good scene, and it's kind of the tone and the mood, and I think a lot of the things about the 60s or the late 60s rather, that this gets across just really make it worth the watch. And I'll agree with Steve, it is a pretty generic love story, and I think I have other issues with it that I will get into, but I see both sides of this. I'm not going to say it's like perfect, but I think it's worth watching at least once, if for no other reason than the visuals, because, God.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, because I like the Beatles, but I don't know much about them, and I think if I was ever to say, if someone told me, why are the Beatles important, or why do they matter, I'd make them watch this movie, because it gets that aspect right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so, too. And the other thing that I'm going to say generally, and I'm not going to go into it all yet, the other thing I'm going to say generally is this movie is like my single go-to argument for, or not argument, but example to help explain phenomenology to people. So there you go.
We're going to have to get into that, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, you can kind of see where I'm coming from, though, can't you?
Yeah,
definitely.
It's going to make for a good discussion, I think.
Yeah, so we'll get into this. If nothing else, this movie's definitely going to be fun to talk about. And like I said, for people that are huge fans of it, that's why I wanted to start out with general thoughts. People that are huge fans of this, you know, stick around, but just be warned that I don't think anyone here thinks this is a perfect movie. So you should keep that in mind before you continue. But I think there will be some interesting things said. I don't think we're going to, like, rag on the movie or anything.
Oh, no. We're
no, by no means.
Geeky Gentleman. No, guys, this is the Geeky Gentleman. We will literally take a shit on your love for this movie. Like, we will, like, by the time you finish watching this video, you will utterly detest us for making you see the flaws in your favorite movie, and you will hate us, and hate will slowly turn to love over the years as you obsess about us. Because we're awesome.
It's a very long process, apparently.
Oh, definitely. That's the Geeky Gentleman. We're a long-term type of mental illness.
Okay.
Yep.
So, I know I mentioned a bunch of things, but Milan, you seem to have the most positive thing about this, a positive viewpoint on this. So, like, Steve seems more negative, Milan seems more positive, I'm somewhere in the middle. But Milan, why don't you start us off on a high note? And do not sing, because I swear to God, if you fucking sing.
I was thinking about that.
Actually, I'm a cross-dressing homosexual with a spot on my lung. That guy, that fucking college student, I'm like, I was bred to hate the aristocracy, the rich people. I was bred in the heart of Moscow in the early 90s, and I was told by my old great communist grandmother, the rich are parasites that suck at the neck of the poor. Hate them all, for they are all liars and thieves and mobsters. That was the case in the old country. But basically, I'm like, if rich people are like that guy, I don't mind getting fucked by the system then.
So you really like the character of Max, is what I'm gleaming from this.
I like all the characters. Funny enough, they have everything. Literally, they have like a little Asian lesbian girl with blue balls, a hot older woman.
Yeah,
Hendrix.
actually, I really like the Jimi Hendrix Janis Joplin thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna break us off and go through a quick story. So recently, Mike Myers, Austin Powers, all that stuff, he produced a documentary about his manager or agent, one of those. And the thing is, the guy has been in the business for decades, and here's how he got his start. Here's one of the stories that the guy told during the documentary of how he got his start. So he had just moved out to L.A., and he was in a crappy motel, and he heard screaming down by the pool, and he ran down to the pool to see what was going on, and he saw a woman being fucked by a black man, and he thought that she was being raped, so he tried to separate them, and then she started hitting him and being like, dude, what the fuck? And he goes, oh, shit, I'm sorry, and he leaves. And then the next morning, he's walking around the pool, and he sees them, and they're like, oh, hey, come over, and he's like, sorry about last night, and they're like, no, it's cool. And they're talking to him, and then he reveals that he's Jewish, and they say, hey, you should be a manager. And those two were Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin. Yeah, so I thought this was pretty clever to put Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin in the movie. Even though, as I'll get into, their subplot is completely screwed. But yeah, I really enjoyed just seeing them as a couple on screen. I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, the acting helped. I thought everyone in the film at least did a pretty good job of conveying the right emotions and making you feel for things, even though we don't see what I would say are key scenes of the film that are missing.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll get into that problem later on, since we're still talking about the positives.
Uh-huh. Milan, what else just really stood out to you about what you liked?
There isn't really a plot. Things just kind of happen, and characters are introduced halfway through the film. It's just like, here's this thing, here's this character, and here's this plot thread, and here's this other plot thread. We might not give you a proper resolution to this, but here it is. And I'm like, okay, sing more Beatles. We do. Thank you. That's all I want. It's just like, it's a movie only in the fact that it's all connected by running time, and you see the same characters now and again.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
It's not a bad thing.
No, I guess it's weird that that's your positive, but okay, because I guess we'll have to start on negative since this is just too relevant not to bring up. So for me, this is actually one of the biggest problems I have with the movie, is they try so hard to get as many Beatles songs into the film as they can that it becomes completely superfluous. There's at least a 15 to 20 minute chunk of this movie that you could cut out and it wouldn't matter at all. And it all starts with I Am the Walrus. I mean, that's the visuals in that scene are awesome and they're super fun, but it adds nothing to the story whatsoever. And that, I think that's a problem, is they try so hard to put as many Beatles songs as they can in this that they distract from their actual plot.
Yeah, I think that's both a positive and a negative, though, because, I mean, you're right in that they distract from the plot. At the same time, playing all of the songs in order the way they are in the film, it does work as a cohesive album, in a sense. Mm. And that's kind of the only thing I enjoyed about the movie. I enjoyed watching the movie as a 2-hour music video. And I think in that sense it works. I wouldn't want those scenes cut. But yeah, you definitely have a point, because it just feels like people are singing for no reason in certain sections.
Well, no, it's just seriously, the whole trip in the bus and everything has nothing to do with anything else that happens before or after in the movie. In fact, there's that whole subplot. Actually, no, wait. I'll back it up. Before the bus, the scene with Prudence, the character that they clearly introduced just so they can put in the song "Dear Prudence."
That's true.
When
Like
that woman says
scene-
"Sweet pea," like that scene when she's in the cupboard, and that
Yeah.
hot older lady says "Sweet pea," I'm like,
Janis
when
Joplin.
pretty.
Call her Janis
Oh,
Joplin.
Janis Joplin. She can she says "Sweet pea" in such the sweetest way possible, and I just love the fact, just a lesbian with blue balls. That's amazing. You know?
No, it's such a weird thing because I agree with Steve, but it's still like it's a significant problem. But I do like those scenes. Like the Prudence scene is beautiful. Seeing the whole room change into clouds and stuff. It's like watching live action Guitar Hero or something.
Do you guys think that this movie might have worked better, at least story-wise, if we saw it on Broadway as a stage play, rather than
Maybe.
just a 2-hour runtime with awesome visuals?
Oh, definitely.
No, because I think the only reason I would watch this more than once is for the film visuals.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, okay, because
Like,
I
there's
say
that
that
scene-
simply because I feel like the visuals do get in the way of whatever very, very thin plot they've laid out for the film.
I disagree because some of the visuals just amaze me. Like, and
Yeah.
some of the visuals are incredibly accurate. There's that song that Max sings when he's in the hospital, and the nurse gives him an injection of morphine. And I was sitting on the couch with Haley watching this, and he has basically an orgasm after he gets the shot of morphine. And I go, that's pretty accurate. Because as someone that's been in the hospital and gotten morphine, yep, that's about what it's like. Right before you pass out. So no, some of the visuals just are amazing. Like I adore that horrifying but amazing moment where Uncle Sam comes off of the poster and grabs it.
Yeah, that is a pretty good scene.
And to be part of the movie, to say more positive to it, that whole scene of the draft process, for those that have it, it's a really old video, so I don't blame you. Go watch the 5-part, I think it is, video series on my channel called Interview with My Father, where I did an interview with my father about his experiences in Vietnam as part of a class project, and you can hear the audio there. It's not great audio, but max out your speakers, you'll be able to hear it fine. And what he described as far as the process that they go through for the draft examination or whatever you want to call it it's so accurately represented in that scene.
And they carry a gigantic statue of fucking liberty through the Vietnam jungle in their underwear. It's amazing.
To tell my favorite story about Vietnam that my dad ever told me, and this was about the draft, but whatever. So they got all the guys lined up, and a doctor's coming and telling them to bend over and spread their cheeks to look at their asshole for some reason. And they get to one guy, and the doctor says, "You have feces in here, son." And the guy says, "What'd you expect to find, candy?" So, yeah. Oh, I miss you, Dad.
Yeah.
No, but there's just a lot of stuff that I think captures the 60s in this, but a lot of it's, that stuff with the bus, to get back to what I was originally trying to say, stuff with the bus, that's shit that happened in the 60s, but it just doesn't add to the overall story, whereas the stuff with Max adds to the overall story, and it's one of the very interesting parts of the overall story that I would like to have seen explored more. So it's just, it creates this weird thing where they try so hard to get some really cool scenes in and really fun scenes, but it's too far removed from what the rest of the story's about, so it makes the rest of the story actually thinner than it has to be. I think that's probably why it's kind of a generic romance movie, or romance musical, is because they spend too much time just shoehorning in Beatles songs. And now it's really quiet, and everyone's like in amazement of my intelligent point.
No, I'm just thinking about it, because, yeah, there's those scenes that you're mentioning where they shoehorn in. Yeah, and obviously the thing with the bus doesn't add up to anything. But then you...
Like...
Sorry, go ahead.
It's not that it doesn't even add up to anything. It's like you can tell that they had nowhere to take it. Because the guy that sings I Am the Walrus gets to the place, and he's making like this big speech, and he says masturbating alligators, which is a fun idea. He makes this big whole
definitely.
speech,
That's
and then some random dude comes up and goes, yeah, he's not going to see you. Oh, okay. And then he just gets on the bus and leaves. It's like the most awkward way to make a character that you just introduced 5 minutes ago, and then he leaves for no reason.
Welcome to the world of musicals.
I think
Characters are but mouthpieces.
I think maybe the problem that we're pointing at now is that it might just be deeper than them wanting to shoehorn in songs. Is they don't do anything with the songs really, right? I mean, we have Jude, we have Max, we have Lucy, and everyone, and they're singing their songs and playing their parts of Beatles music. But what do they really add to it? Like, what's the reason that this needed to be a movie instead of just a re-release of Beatles songs?
And now we're going to get into my phenomenology point. Alright, so one of the criticisms I've heard thrown against this this production, musical, whatever, is that they are purposefully misinterpreting what the point of the songs were, what like the underlying message of some of the songs were. And they are. I Want You, She's So Heavy, as it's actually titled, I Want You has absolutely nothing to do with the war, okay? It is purely a sex song. The short scene where Prudence is looking at Janis Joplin is a more accurate representation of what that song is about than what they do with it. What they do with it is significantly more interesting, in my opinion. Why not? When I say that this is my go-to example for explaining phenomenology to people, and just to explain phenomenology, phenomenology is the study of lived experience, and you have to be very in the moment. And so the example I always point to, and this is a good way of showing that, the example I always point to is, have you ever listened to a song that you've heard 100 times, but at this point in your life, when you're listening to it, everything in the song seems to describe what you're going through? And I think that's what the writers are doing with the songs in this, is they are applying what the songs sound like, what they happen to be describing, and structuring it around the lives of these characters, and showing how it perfectly defines who they are and what they've been going through. And so that's my argument for why this is the perfect example of phenomenology. Even though it's fictionalized, which is problematic.
I mean, I can see your case. At the same time, I think if even if you're not a big Beatles fan and you just listen to a couple of these songs, you might get the same impression that the writers of these movie did.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of where I draw the line on this movie is, why do we need it?
Well, why do we need anything? You know, if you're going to ask that way.
I mean, like, with this film, it wants to incorporate every Beatles song there is. It wants to make commentaries about the 60s and such. But it's not doing anything with the Beatles song that...
I don't think it wants to make a commentary about the 60s. You know what I think this is? It's not trying to be a commentary. It's not trying to be anything more than what it is. It's just a giant nostalgia fest for folks who just grew up in the 60s. And that's not a bad thing. I don't think it's trying to make any real point. I think it's just trying to recapture a certain feel of a decade.
I mean, I can get behind that. It's just it doesn't do anything with the Beatles songs that aren't already part of the Beatles songs. You know, like it doesn't add anything to that culture that wasn't already there. Yep.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's kind of the point, though, isn't it? To just show how the culture, show how the Beatles were the voice of a generation in a lot of ways, because that's This thing that's so interesting is all of their songs apply so well, even though they're changing the meaning. So many of their songs apply so well to what's going on in these large-scale events in the 60s. I think the part of the reason that the Let It Be song in the Detroit riot works so well is not just because it's so damn tragic and they have a gospel sing it. I think that's like the exact situation, the exact sentiment that people that were going through the damn riot felt. It's just, calm the fuck down, people. Just quit. Don't you see that this is not the way to do things? And I think Let It Be captures that attitude very well.
Yeah, definitely. He does get the feel, but I think the people in the riots were mostly not thinking, like, this is stupid. Like, they must be thinking, like, holy shit, there's a...
No, there were plenty of people, like a Tigers player, Detroit Tigers player, who had grown up on the street where the riot like started and grew out from. He left a game, drove to that neighborhood in his car, got up on the roof of his car, and tried to calm down the crowd. A U.S. representative, U.S. representative, who was trying to make sure that Lyndon B. Johnson didn't bring in federal troops to quell the riot. This dude went through the streets with a megaphone, trying to get people to calm down, and he said, "I understand that you're mad, but this is not the way to do things." And once again, U.S. Congressman, was chased out of Detroit with rocks being thrown at him because he was trying to people not to do crazy shit.
And then every senator from that point on decided, you know what, fuck the people, and so they dedicated their lives to destroying all black people.
Pretty much.
Apparently, that's what I've been told. But anyway, yeah, it's essentially it gets the feel of the 60s, or at least a fanciful, golden view, nostalgia-filled feel of the 60s. It's like, you know what's strange? If this movie is to be remade, but with our generation in 50 years' time, what would be the soundtrack for this type of movie for our nostalgia look back? Ass, 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 ass. Just like what good music is out there now that is sure there's good music, but what is there there's nothing really Beatles defining of this generation.
You do have a point there. There's certainly artistic music being made, but it's not getting the kind of recognition that the Beatles got in the time. And to be fair, the Beatles started out as a fucking boy band, and I'm never going to let anybody forget that.
Yeah.
So, you notice that, their, early songs take up so little of this movie. And that's, I guess, another thing that I kind of noticed is the reason I'm not a big Beatles fan is because they did, and you could never argue with me on this, they started out as a boy band. You could, if Justin Bieber were a little bit more tame, you could totally see him singing "I Want to Hold Your Hand," and it would not blow anyone's mind.
Whoa. Justin Bieber is tame?
No, if he were more tame.
I mean, if he was more tame, it's Justin Bieber. How much more tame can you get?
Dude, he almost killed somebody by hitting him with the car.
That's nothing. I do that every other day. What the fuck?
Anyway, no.
A little thing, you brought it up. Look.
No, let me make my damn point. Let me make my point here about the boy band thing. The Beatles, they started out as such a boy band kind of thing, and then they started to get really interesting and really artistic. And then they started doing acid, and it just got really weird and really fucking trippy. And people try to assign values and meanings to those songs, Yellow Submarine, which, by the way, did not make it into the movie for very good reason. They try to, give meaning and stuff to Yellow Submarine, and no, you can't. Come Together is not a deep and complex philosophical work. It's a weird, trippy song, and that's all it's supposed to be. And it gets to the point where they're trying to be too artsy-fartsy just for the point of being artsy-fartsy and being, oh, aren't we brilliant? So I don't know. Like, that's my problem with the Beatles and why I've never been able to really get too into them is because they're important, but their stuff starts to get really weird for no reason other than drugs. And I think that becomes a significant problem for the movie, too, because they try to incorporate the really weird stuff. Because all we were missing from that 15, 20-minute block was Yellow Submarine. And that would have been just the cherry on top.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I was looking for that song all the way through.
Right? It's like, how could you ever put a story to that? Actually, I take that back. So, this was years ago. I was in high school at the time. But Nick Jr. Ran a commercial during regular Nick broadcasting. And it was for the Beatles, which was a cartoon they were running at the time, and it was 4 British accent Beatles, literal cartoon Beatles, with, long haircuts. And they were trapped inside a yellow submarine, and they had to sing the words "help" to the people on the surface to come get them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I suppose that's the best you could ever do to put a story to that damn song.
Sure, but it's strange. Like, thanks to the internet, music nowadays, not just music, everything is so specialized to, every specific group. Like, people say, the culture has stopped. Idiots say that. But it's not that. Everything, back in the 60s, you could have, just large, sweeping, all-consuming cultural phenomenons in a medium like the Beatles. Because what else are you going to fucking listen to? But now you can literally listen to anything in any genre, at the snap of a finger, Nobody listens to the radio anymore. And what will be that defining soundtrack of our generation? Personally, anything they choose from, the top hits nowadays, it's just, benign, colorless, flavorless filth. It's bubblegum without the taste or the sugar. And, for me at least, they would just have to...
That bass. I'm all about that bass. Sorry.
Exactly. But, personally, for example, me...
I wonder how many songs about big butts there are.
So many, because the majority of, singers today in the music industry are black.
Specifically about big butts. You got, fat bottom girls.
Yeah, 375 to my count.
No, then you got fat bottom girls, then you got, I like big butts, and now that's what that bass is all about, so... I was listening to Todd's pop song review of that, but go on, Milan, I'm sorry.
Anyway, basically, personally, for me, we all have our own private soundtrack of very specific shit that makes up, this generation for us in our minds. Personally, mine is, That Handsome Devil, a melodic dubstep, really terrifyingly haunting, communist-era children's songs in Russian that just sound fucking terrifying if you don't speak the language, and really fucking nostalgic and, heart-wrenching if you're Russian, death metal, and, that weird little hum that the Joker soundtrack has in The Dark Knight Rises, just just that on a loop for 25 minutes. Exactly. And what would be for you, Ian? What would be for you, Steve? What is your generation-defining soundtrack?
Well, unfortunately, I can't pick the thing that I would like to pick because it's not from my generation.
Exactly, that's the thing.
It would be Pink Floyd. But I guess
Floyd,
That Handsome Devil's about the only thing that I really, really love that works. And they're so, not heard of ever that doesn't really work to define a whole generation. I think, and even then, they're talking more about, that song Reagan's Kids, that's about 80s kids. That's not about me.
There's nothing
I look at the people that are coming up today, that are at least like getting noticed. I mean, fucking Justin Bieber. I don't want him to be the voice of my generation, but I think Justin Bieber might be the voice of my generation, and that scares me.
Yeah. Essentially, the real-life King Joffrey defines your generation, and how fitting is that? How truly fitting is that?
Oh, there's the clip. There's the clip right there. Oh my god.
I mean, Jesus Christ. You know?
Milan, please do a Photoshop of that for me. Just a really quick one.
Of what?
Of Justin Bieber as King Joffrey. Oh my god.
Alright, that's fine. I can do that.
Oh, please do. Just don't put too much effort into it. The cruder it looks, the funnier it'll be.
Yeah.
Anyway. How about you, Steve? What do you got?
I don't know. I've just kind of been thinking about this. Maybe I should renege on my point, though, about the film not adding anything to the music. I think I was really wrong about that. As far as music of our generation, or like what would define us, like I think firstly it might be a little bit too early to tell just because we live in that generation right now. Mm-hmm. But you're right, because there isn't any one specific. There are songs.
Everything's so specialized now. Yeah,
but
everything
I
is so
wonder,
specialized. Yeah.
I wonder if that's a problem, though. I mean, we go 50 years down the line, and maybe the soundtrack of our generation is a mixtape, and it just serves as an allegory of, well, now everyone has access to everything, and we diversify the music because we have access to diverse music. And maybe that could be a statement down the line, but again, I think it would just be too early to tell. I mean, the closest thing I have to anyone or any one song ever hitting me to home is maybe someone that I used to know, maybe. And then there's Weird Al songs just because they make fun of current issues, but they don't really define me the same way Ian was saying Pink Floyd's about the 80s kids, even though you connect to it.
No, not Pink Floyd. That Handsome Devil's about it.
Right.
A lot about 80s kids.
Right.
Because that's when they were growing up, the band members.
Right. I mean, like,
Pink
we
Floyd.
don't have our Breakfast Club kind of movie or kind of songs anywhere, do we?
Yeah, we really don't.
And I want that. I really want to, like, wake up one morning and say, that's the movie that's all about me.
That's a really good point, because the internet has opened up for everyone to go get specialized in this thing or that thing. But, like, not even just the internet, but movies run for, 3 months at most nowadays? Like,
yeah.
If I go to a dollar theater, I might be able to see Planet of the Apes still. But, like, back in the day, you think of, like, major iconic movies, Indiana Jones ran for at least 6 months in most theaters.
Oh, I know. Like, if you go to musicals in India, like back in like the 60s and 70s, there'd be movies that ran for 500, 600 days because they were such cultural hits.
Yeah, like things have kicked into overdrive, and we're just song after song, movie after movie. It doesn't have time to stick and really voice itself, because we've entered this kind of machine culture where we just are on to the next best thing.
Culture. There's a great Alan Moore quote to describe exactly what you're saying. Culture is speeding up, and culture is turning to steam. It's steam now. It's slowly going faster and faster until we're all in the cloud. You know what we're saying, mate? 'Cause I'm Alan Moore. Jeff Johns stole my work. Fuck Jeff Johns. He's a fucking hack. I sustain my life essence on his tears. I make him send me like little vials of his tears, right? And he does it. He fucking does it because I'm Alan Moore. And who's gonna say no to Alan fucking Moore, right?
Grant Morrison, that's who.
Oh, fuck Grant Morrison. Oh, fucking hell. Hello, I'm Grant Morrison. How you doing, Alan? Holy shit, you're an angry old fuck, aren't you? Fuck you. You fucking bold cunt, sellout, drug addict piece of shit. I wrote Watchmen. Yeah, well, I wrote fucking Batman. All of it in one gigantic run. I wrote fucking All-Star Superman and the Invisibles. You fucking cunt. Oh, well. Oh, you think you're big, eh? You think you've reached the same level of badassery as I? Yeah, well, at least I'm still making shit. And at least I'm not a fucking cunt like you. You're a cunt and you're a hack. And you're broken and just you've become a comic book joke. I'm Grant Morrison. I am immortal.
I'm waiting for Frank Miller to show up.
I'm Frank Miller. Women are all whores. Fucking Arabs. Fucking Arabs, right? You know, you can't trust them.
Alan Moore has Watchmen, Frank Miller has Dark Knight Returns, but Grant Morrison has the best Superman and best Batman stories ever told, so I think he wins.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's just for that, Stevie. I'm gonna reveal to you the secrets of the fucking universe.
Dude, if I ever met the guy, that's the first thing I would ask him.
You know what you should do, dude? Read The Invisible. Dude, if you want to know how, just either read Super Gods to get basically the condensed version of how he sees the world, or just read The Invisibles.
I've read The Invisibles as well. I've read everything Grant Morrison's ever.
In that case, I will have to have sex with you.
No thank you. Anyway, back to this movie.
No. The fact that you've read everything Grant Morrison just constitutes the fact that my cock is going up your ass at some point in the future.
I hope
I'm
not.
sorry. It's illegal. It's a legal agreement.
So a scene I really, really like in this movie.
Way to transition, Steve. Way to transition.
I think this is probably one of the best scenes in the movie, is when Jude goes into the office of the protesters and he's singing Revolution.
Oh, yeah.
Because
that's one that stuck with me big time.
Yeah, I mean, we get that right after he sings Strawberry Fields Forever, and we get all the symbolism of the strawberry and the way it transitions from there. It's so psychedelic, it's so interesting, and I think it's the best use of Beatles in the 60s context that film does.
Yeah, because, I mean, what works about that scene to me is it's a scene that's actually going with what the song was intended for.
Yes.
And I mean, like, I made my whole argument, and it's still a good argument, but I think that if you're going to use someone's music to tell a story, you should at least try to a certain extent to tell the same story that the song happens to be telling, as far as, like, actual production goes. And so I think that this worked really well in that scene. I mean, that's honestly, that scene made me like the songs more.
Right? Yeah.
To be honest with you, because I'd heard Revolution before, but it never really stuck with me. But the way that it all worked, the fact that people did actually have pictures of fucking Mao up.
Yeah.
And can you imagine that? Yeah, we're gonna worship Mao. It's like having a picture of Stalin on your desk.
Funny you should say that.
Shut the fuck up.
I think that's the portion of the film that also does some of the best transitions. Because then we also get While My Guitar Gently Weeps. And it's a really somber piece. And I think that's the one moment where the characters kind of pop out to life a bit more. And they don't just feel like the generic characters the Beatles were singing about.
Mm-hmm. And then the only, I think when it goes away is when when the Beatles actually kind of run into a problem. Not the Beatles themselves, but when the Beatles' work runs into a problem in that this does not it tells such a specific story that they couldn't even use the fucking lyrics, which is Read the News Today.
Right.
Like, they couldn't even use the fucking lyrics because the story in that is so specific, and it's actually like 3 or 4 stories, but it's so damn specific, and it's like, well, shit, and it's so fucking weird. Oh, why don't we put all the potholes in the fucking theater? What? It's one of those songs where I just like people go, oh, it's so amazing and stuff. I'm like, no, it's kind of stupid actually.
I'm actually starting to wonder if I would appreciate this film more or less if I just knew more about the Beatles.
Well, like, the song I read the news today starts off really somber and everything, and it's actually about one of their friends dying in a car crash. And that could have worked, but then, like, it's actually more just Paul McCartney had half a song and John Lennon had half a song, and they just glued them together. That is the best way to describe I read the news today. Because then it goes, woke up, got out of bed, ran a comb across my head.
And my friends died in a car crash, and that was sad.
No, but it's such a disjointed thing that this movie, like, I don't even know why they bothered with it, because if you're not going to put the lyrics in it, don't bother, because it's kind of the point of a musical, right? You can't have an instrumental in a musical. Or I don't know, maybe it doesn't seem right.
I mean, I've never seen one work, but
I guess this came the closest, but even then, they're only using half the song.
Right. They also blend some of the songs as well. Like, Helter Skelter gets blended with other songs quite a bit.
Yeah, and then there was, toward the end, what's Jude start singing on the roof? It's not coming to my head right
All
now.
You Need Is Love.
Yeah, All You Need Is Love, and then they shoehorn it in, but it does work. She Loves You, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah. Which is, once again, a fucking boy band song.
And then in the middle of it, you get Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, and I don't think that works very well.
I thought they just put that in the credits.
No, you can hear parts of it at the very end of the film before the credits start rolling.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Yeah, but, like, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is another song where I'm like, clearly they could not work this into the fucking movie because it's so weird.
It is trippy.
And that is saying something, considering that they have a fucking, floating circus with a ringleader.
I did not get that scene at all.
There's nothing to get. It's just fucking weird. There's like the whole point of the story part of it is, they took acid in the punch, but
it's still so strange. Like, why did we need to see that? I couldn't understand like any of the thematic value to it.
Funny,
it had none.
I had some
Go
acid.
For it, Milan. This I want to hear.
I've got some acid, like in my room somewhere.
Okay, no. Please, Milan, explain the thematic value, though, of the circus scene.
Well, the circus obviously represents the internal struggle of the characters. The moral and sociological, like fury that beats in the hearts of all young people at that time. And the ringmaster, the capitalist ringleader, the horrible clown in the center of it all, just enticing our young heroes into a world of spending and false hope. Yet, at the same time, his existence is necessary, for the circus is a show, and the show must go on.
Okay, now can I give my counter argument as to what value that scene
Please
has?
do.
Sure. Yeah.
The whole point is to make a lesbian joke about Prudence dating a contortionist. It is the only thing that entire scene builds up to that has anything to do with the story. And I mean, Prudence, like, the actress was pretty good, but that's a character that does not need to be in the movie at all. They put her in there so they can work in the song Dear Prudence, obviously. They also put her in there so that they can work in the song, which is another boy band song, I Want to Hold Your Hand. And then they give her a quick little moment during the end of the I Want You, which completely ruins the point of making I Want You about politics and war. It's such a weird thing to throw in, because you take what is just a sex song. I mean, you could fuck to that song. You take what is a sex song and just turn it into a really interesting political commentary, and then at the end you turn it back into a sex song? Why? It's such a weird thing to do to me.
Yeah, it is. It's almost a little bit inconsistent within the film. I also want to address something, because you mentioned this earlier, and you said if you're going to use someone else's music in a film like this, you should at least a little bit try to stay close to what the artist wanted. I'm not sure if I agree with that. Because...
Well, like...
Isn't the author dead?
Well, I mean, not even the whole death of the author thing, but just in the matter of music is already an extremely personal thing anyway. Like, how often do people bother even looking up what a song's really meant for anyway? So
Never.
I think if you take a song, regardless of what it means, and make it fit into something and it works, more power to you.
I think that's fair, and I just think that, like, if there's a very clear message to the song, though, you really shouldn't try to butcher it.
But you can always make it work, though, right?
Well, like, I'm trying to think of something just as specific as Revolution. Like, alright, let's just use Revolution. If they had used Revolution and tried to make it fit into a different context, say in the context of, like... Say they used Revolution to talk about cooking. That'd just be way too weird. And even if you could kind of make some of the lyrics work, you'd have to agree with me that those two ideas do not go together at all.
No, they don't. But I mean, I don't mean in the sense that you make a song fit to something that it doesn't say. I mean in the stretch that if you think a song means something, and you make a video or a scene or a movie out of what you think it means, then it doesn't matter whether or not you got the meaning right.
No, and I agree with you, certainly. I just think that if the meaning is incredibly specific, then you should try to, like, if you're going to use the song, then you should try to go for
right,
it.
but then in my case would be, well, if it was extremely specific, you probably didn't mix up the idea.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, like, I want you... This is probably my favorite scene in the movie, so I'm going to come back to it several times, obviously.
Right.
I want you, like I say, keep saying, it is not a political song at all, by any stretch of the imagination. But they make it into a political song, and I'm fine with that. That works really well. It's really clever, actually, because you got the pictures of Uncle Sam, and it works perfectly. Then, to do that is fine, but, like, if they were to do something similar with Revolution and make it not about revolutions and the way in which they were leaning at the time, then it just wouldn't work, and it would be kind of pointless, and it would be very distracting. So I feel like if the song has a very specific meaning, that you should try to match that meaning, otherwise you shouldn't be using it.
Right, unless you can think of another meaning that works just as well, use the meaning it has.
True, but, like, once again, Revolution is a very specific song, so I'd be hard-pressed to think of what else you could use it for that would actually be relevant.
Right, I mean, but, like, Revolution's also like We Didn't Start the Fire and stuff like that. The songs that, if you missed what they meant, you weren't listening to the song.
Yeah, I agree. But
then there were songs like I mentioned before, God, what was it called? Fuck, I forgot what that song was called. I Want You, and you got Helter Skelter, and you have Hold Me Tight and stuff. You could use those songs in other contexts because they're just vague enough.
You know,
yeah,
during that whole...
use Helter Skelter for whatever. I mean, you could use Helter Skelter as a reason to try to spark a race war and kill a bunch.
Right. You know, when I was watching that scene, for some reason, what kept flashing into my mind was just black people taking over the world. And, like, for some weird reason, I had this weird plan of, like, essentially constructing a harem of women with mental problems and having them kill for me, and then running off to the desert and hiding out until the black people came and killed everyone. And then eventually, after a while, since obviously everyone knows black people cannot run a country, and so, like, after they ruin everything, I would come back and, like, rule over them as, like, white Jesus or king. Like, Helter Skelter is a very specific song, I gotta say.
I think that's your Clippian.
No, I'm still gonna go with Justin Bieber. But Milan is on fire tonight. We got to have you off the show more often, just so you come back and you're kicking and screaming like this.
Oh yeah, that's because the reason I don't say a lot is because my little brother is always like sitting across from me, looking at me with those faces of doubt and like distrust and like just shame and terror, and I'm like, I couldn't say like, oh, I like men. Right up the ass. I can't say that out loud. They're both asleep or gone, so now I'm free to say what I want to say, and life is good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, but it is, like, Helter Skelter is a very good thing to point out, and always when speaking about Death of the Author, Helter Skelter and Catcher in the Rye should always be something that come up, because, I mean, there's a reason that Helter Skelter isn't really on a lot of, Beatles best of albums anymore. It's really hard to think of anything else after that. But you know, like that's the joke I made when we did the Taxi Driver review. Is same thing Milan just said. Basically, it's just, man, I just had the idea that if I try to kill Ronald Reagan, Jodie Foster will fall in love with me.
Like, I know that makes perfect logical sense. You know?
Yeah, Alex told me that it seemed like a solid plan too, so I'm gonna go for it, man.
Totally, yeah. Isn't Jodie Foster dead?
Jodie Foster is a lesbian.
Oh. That's cool. So am I.
So yes,
technically, I like women. Oh wait, let me check. Oh no, shit. I have a cock. I just remembered.
Yeah, it is tiny enough. I can see why you'd forget.
Ooh.
Oh,
suddenly
that is.
became middle school.
Oh yeah, totally. Dude, it has always been middle school. This is like the Geeky Gentleman, like, is the intellectual center. Like, we should appeal to kids. Like, we should just go out and, like, I should hang the posters I made in schoolyards. Say, like, hey kids, listen to the Geeky Gentleman, but don't tell your parents because we'll go to jail. You know? Or better yet...
I don't know, there is something... Like, I thought about this the other day. I don't want to give up penis jokes just because I'm not 13.
Exactly. Penis jokes...
are fun.
Penis jokes are
Penis jokes are my right as an American.
Damn right. Like revolution, brother.
Yeah.
We gotta take back the penis joke to ourselves, you know? We gotta take that shit back. It's those damn kids.
And here's a joke I've been wanting to make, and I don't see when I'm going to ever get another opportunity that's even kind of relevant, so I'm going to go ahead and make it right now. I support lesbian rights. I support gay rights. I support bisexual rights. I do not support transgender rights for one very specific reason.
Why?
They make pronouns a bitch. And I'm not okay with that.
Like, if you're a dude, like everyone, if you're a dude with a cock, you're a dude with a cock. Or if you're a girl with a cock, you're a girl with a cock. Just say, like, I'm a girl with a cock. Awesome, bend over and don't look at me.
No, it's just that's a joke that's been going through my mind lately because I've got one transgender girl in my in a class I'm taking, and I work with another guy that's going through the transgender process at the station, and it just makes pronouns a bitch.
Just call them by
like,
the first
hey
name.
man, I mean, miss.
you know, just call those people. You know, just call those people snickerdoodles. Like, hey, snickerdoodle. I'm a snicker croissant. You're a snicker croissant? I don't care. You're a snickerdoodle for me. You know?
Okay. Let's go ahead and let Steve try to get us back. That's what I'm gonna keep doing to you, Steve. I'm gonna make you get us back on topic.
You're the
sane
one.
That's your job.
Like, Ian's the asshole. I'm the crazy one. You're the poor rationalist sitting in the corner crying.
I think we have new titles for the end of the show.
I gotta write that one down.
The Rationalist?
Something I want to address about this movie, because we've mentioned the visuals, but we haven't talked much about the choreography.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's some synchronization and some movement and some, like, particularly in the drafting scene, that's just really memorable and really interesting. And it's not the generic, it's a musical and everyone dances in very goofy ways. It's...
So there is a little bit of that.
No, yeah, there is. But there's
Totally.
just enough uniqueness to the choreography that it doesn't really become a problem when they kind of degenerate.
Yeah, I really like the draft scene. I mean, everything about that scene is just nail on the head for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fluidity to that scene.
Yeah, but the other one that I really like is in Come Together with the business people walking down the street.
Oh, yeah.
And just like when he's in the huge crowd of people in New York and they all like shuffle around and he's just like so lost because he's not used to like the hustle. And even though he's from Detroit, he's not used to that level of hustle and bustle. I actually have a movie about Jimi Hendrix. It's a biopic, and I think it came out just about a year or two after the Doors movie did. And it's really crazy how accurate this movie got his life in a lot of ways.
What was it
So,
It's just called Hendrix,
Oh,
I
okay.
think. Give me a minute. I'll be right back. You two talk. I'm gonna go look because
I think
right
I've
now
seen Hendrix.
we're still unpacking, and I have all of my DVDs just sitting on the floor. So give me a second.
Okay, well,
I think
what's the best place to put DVDs?
Yep, on the floor. I think I've seen Hendrix, actually.
I don't have a DVD stand yet.
Hmm.
No, yeah, I think I have heard of Hendrix at some point, and I've been meaning to watch it. I just haven't gotten a chance to yet.
I've seen it like maybe a couple of months ago. No, it was last year. I've seen Hendrix. That's the last time I saw it. But anyway, Steve. Like,
Yes.
You got a haircut now.
I did. It's been a couple of months, but
Yeah. Sorry. The perception of time for me is it's like comic book time for me. Literally. Like, it's literally a panel will move, and I'm like, it's been 15 days. Where was I? In the Blue Mountains, hunting trolls.
well, I think to keep this on topic, something else about this movie, because we alluded to this earlier on, but it feels like there are certain scenes that are just missing, and one of the ones that really stands out are when Sadie and her band and the guitarist Jimi Hendrix guy, they're singing, they have a relationship, and that's all fine and good. We don't see when the relationship deteriorates, so there's just that really awkward scene where they're kind of one-upping each other at the concert, and then they kind of split off, and then they get back together off-screen. So they break up off-screen, and they get back together off-screen, and it just doesn't work really well. It's like a bad biopic situation, where they just skip important events to cover other important events.
It's like, oh, these historical characters, you know what happens, right? It's like,
Yeah,
this is why,
I mean, there's
yeah.
in-betweenness to those scenes that just aren't in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like mostly like the director thought like, oh, people in the 60s will only watch this, so they'll get what's going on. This is a little haha continuity, hint to them. Continuity, because I refer to real life as continuity. But I mean, it's weird. It is a film that is just like I said before, just things happen in it. There's a very few plot threads that intertwine into a cohesive rope of narrative, as it were. It's just things happening one after the other, and it's mostly, I see this film mostly as an emotional ride. It's not about the plot. It's just about the fun character interactions and just the feel. It's a movie that's trying to make you feel things, but not exactly think things, as it were.
No,
Yeah, I can agree with that. Side note, Hendrix came out. It is called Hendrix, and it came out in 2001. No, I really do agree with that. This is a movie that's very much just about the experience, and it's got a generic plot because it doesn't have time to add anything more complex. And to be fair, to work in all these songs, I don't see how you do it with a really complex plot.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the plot does work in the sense that the plot gets you to feel emotions, and when the songs hit just the right notes, they work perfectly, like when we talk about the Revolution scene or the Strawberry scene. The problem I would have with it that I think better describes the issue is that none of the characters matter. Like, we're seeing all of these events through their eyes, and they all have meaning because of historical context and what the songs mean, and what it's saying about all of those ideas in general. but the characters don't matter at all. They're extremely generic, with basically one dimension to all of them. And while the acting is good, the characters themselves don't have anything about them that make them interesting. They just experience events and a song plays, and then you experience events and a song plays. And sure, the feel of the film can get you through that, but you're never invested in the people.
I was.
I can see where you come from with that, but I wouldn't completely agree. Like, I love the Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin subplot, but it is a significant problem that, like you said, it happens a lot, like, the very important parts of it happen off-screen.
Yeah, I mean, those actors are fine, but yeah, like you said, most of this stuff happens off-screen, so why should I really care about them?
No, it's not why should I care, it's just that you don't get to go through the things with them, and that's a problem. And to our main characters, we get all their stuff on screen, but they're like very whitewashed kind of thing.
They're very cliché.
They are. Yeah, and I mean, it's a musical. Like, musicals are kind of founded on cliches. I don't think I've ever. To be fair, I think this might be the most complex story and most complex characters I've ever seen in a musical.
I don't agree. I mean, there are musicals with complex characters. I mean, I don't like Indian movies. I don't like Indian movies, but all of those movies are musicals, and there are the ones that are really, really smart with good characters.
Yeah.
See, this is true. You have an advantage that I don't think either of us have, and you've seen Bollywood.
I'm not sure if that's an advantage or a disadvantage, but
dude,
I mean,
Steven, have you seen the Krishna movies?
I have. Yes.
I love them. There's that it's essentially Goku in black leather, just to choir. It's just
so
every.
Bad, though.
It's so good. He turns his head and anything that guy does, he gets like a really soulful choir, like da 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 da.
I guess a side note is that
he buys a bagel.
Started off of an E.T. ripoff.
Exactly,
and that E.T. ripoff was terrible, and then they decided to turn it into a superhero somehow.
That's amazing.
It's not. It's pretty crappy, but
it's amazing. Like, it goes all the way around the bend and becomes like the greatest work humanity has ever produced or will ever produce. Krish is amazing. It's like if you're a fan of superheroes at any way, shape, or form, watch this film, and like it's so good.
I've been meaning to make Cap watch those, just to torture him.
Oh, the guy that's playing, that plays Hendrix in the movie Hendrix is going to be in the Ant-Man
film.
Oh,
that's interesting, yeah.
Sorry, just wanted to say something to distract me on.
But
anyway.
Who's the actor?
Wood Harris.
Cool.
But yeah, I guess I see where you come from. Like, they are generic characters, and to be fair, I'm gonna make this point then. This is the only American, or British, or European, there we go. This is the only European musical that is, like, really complex and interesting, that doesn't involve barbers killing people.
Moulin Rouge.
Which version?
I take it you're just not a fan of it?
I mean, I liked the movie to a certain extent, but it is really silly. I like the Nostalgia Critic's review of the movie a little bit more than I like the movie.
Nostalgia Critic reviewed that movie. That's the one time I've ever agreed with Confused Matthew.
It's a really fun review because he does a lot of the songs and stuff, but he rewrites the lyrics. Like they get to the Roxanne song, and he's like, tried to explain that if they want to do songs, they should write their own damn songs. But he's like, I do like this scene though, damn it! It's one of those like things that you have when you're a reviewer long term, is you just get to this wall where there's a very significant problem and it's staring you in the face, but something about what's going on is just too cool or too awesome to like completely dismiss. Anyway. No, but like you can name some, but I think this one's It's not great. It's not, like, perfect. It's not an amazing piece of art that will live on for generations and will be examined. No, the Beatles did that. That's done. This is an attempt to create a story around the Beatles, and it's a generic story, but it works fairly well when you take out the 20-minute block in the middle. And it not only tells the story of the 60s using generic characters, but it really does kind of take you through a journey of what the Beatles went through. I think. Like, just artistically.
Yeah, I mean, I said it earlier in the review, I think if someone doesn't understand why the Beatles are important, this is a good place to start.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're almost done. Does anyone have anything else they wanted to make sure we brought up?
It's best to watch this movie while on acid or high.
Did you... I wanted to ask about that, actually. Milan's been going through this I'm high all the time phase
stop.
because...
I have not.
Apparently he was never 16.
No, I wasn't. Like, literally, I should tell you this. I'm actually a government experiment. I've only been alive for, like, essentially what they did, they cloned me from this dead hobo. And I've only been alive for, like, 5 years or so. And, like, all they've been doing is, like, teaching me how to kill people and pumping me full of, like, narcotics. You know? And I think, like, they send me out into the desert or into some, like, third world countries to kill dictators. And it's... Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Milan? So, like, I wanted to get to an actual question. Did you watch this movie?
No.
High? Huh.
This would be the movie to do it with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna watch anything high, like, lately all the reviews, Milan's been like, I watched this high, and...
That's not true.
Like, honestly, this would have been the one to go
Right,
for.
like, this is the perfect case, and no one will begrudge you for it. I did want to mention that the director of this film also directed Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. And that's just hilarious to me, because that's a complete and utter train wreck.
I don't think
this isn't, but the fact that she went from this to Turn Off the Dark, I don't know where the creativity went in between.
Oh no, the Turn Off the Dark is very creative. I once read a review of Turn Off the Dark, where it's like, Turn Off the Dark is the most expensive Broadway musical ever produced. I think there's something to say about that. It's also probably the worst Broadway musical
It's also the one with the
produced.
most production problems ever, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I've seen some...
Though, like, to be fair, if it had worked, it would have been really fun.
Yeah, that's true, but it didn't work.
Yeah, but they actually, like, showed you how, like, Spider-Man's... You see him, like, swinging through the city, and they have, like, moving sets in the background, and it looked so fucking badass, even from that shitty little video that I've seen of it. But, you know...
Like, there was supposed to be a gigantic web in the last scene that dropped down over the audience, and they'd fight on it. And that sounds awesome. And then they couldn't get it to work, or it got, like, tangled on the lights and shit. And that's annoying. And then, you know, actors kept falling down and stuff. There's a lot to turn on. I mean, if I had fucking U2 doing the soundtrack, how do you fuck that up?
That's a good question.
Anyway, but this is not a review of Turn Off the Dark, though. If anyone ever gets me a video of that, if someone wants to send me a link of, like, a good quality video of that, I may very well make that a topic in the future. Because that would be fun. Anyway, Milan... wait, no, let's go ahead and do scores. Alright, so who wants to start? Who's got a good score to start us out with? Okay, no one, so I guess I'll go. Alright, I'm going to give this movie 3.5 out of 5. Random circus ringleaders.
I think I'll give this one just a completely average 2.5 out of 5 psychedelic blood-gushing strawberries.
I give this film, let's see, 4.5 out of 5, just really hot quote unquote older ladies. Janis Joplin's, that's the one. Like, God, she was fucking beautiful. Holy shit. Older woman? What the fuck? She's not old.
Well, she was like in her 30s, and they were like both 22.
Fuck them. Fuck them. Like, you're not old when you're 32. I mean, fuck you.
No, she was like clearly supposed to be like 35 or something, and they were both like 22.
Just fucking hot as hell.
Okay, but like clearly she's older than that.
No. Shut up with your facts.
That should be like that should just be Milan's motto in life. Shut up with your facts. Let me be All right, so I announced this last time, and I'll announce it again for the month of October. Thank you for the disgusting cough. For the month of October, on Geeky Gentlemen, we will be doing nothing but horror movie reviews as our Halloween celebration.
Right.
So I hope everyone's excited for that. And starting us off with a topic choice for review, Milan, what are we reviewing next time?
We are reviewing Evil Dead, the trilogy.
The trilogy?
Wait, what?
What happened to Brain Dead?
Oh yeah, that's right. Fuck it. We'll do Evil Dead next time. We'll do fucking Evil Dead. I mean, Brain Dead. They have such similar names. Brain Dead.
No, I mean, we could do Evil Dead. it just drops off guard.
No, like, Brain...
Yeah, like, I should put an addendum to this. We're not doing fucking, like, series. Pick a movie.
Alright then. Evil... Brain Dead, yeah.
Brain Dead.
Yeah,
Brain
the
Dead,
one with the
okay.
Kung Fu priest.
What?
Okay. So yeah, next time we'll be doing Brain Dead. That should be fun. I'm excited for horror movie month here on Geeky Gentlemen. I already know what I'm picking, and I'm excited for that. That'll be fun. All right, and then we'll probably bring. I'll ask Bill if he wants to come on, since we'll need someone to pick a fourth movie. That'll be fun. All right, everyone. So thank you for listening. Until next time, I'm the philosopher.
Politician.
I am the madman.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.
Yep.